Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word. That's right. There's like a poker game going on in here. Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. How's everybody doing? Victory Monday. Victory Monday's in his house. Eagles yesterday, 28-22 win over the Los Angeles Rams. And I'd like to sit here and tell you that I have had my finger on the pulse of Philadelphia sports media on this Victory Monday, but I can't because I haven't really been listening, honestly. But what I have listened to confirms a lot of my suspicions. There's not much confidence running wild as the Eagles are getting ready to roll into the championship game. There's a little bit of self-doubt. There's a little bit of concern about the football team as they get ready to hook up with the Washington Commanders on Sunday in the 9th appearance of in franchise history of the Philadelphia Eagles going into a championship game. Everything from, well, I guess really there's only one concern, right? There's only one major concern that the fan base seems to have heading into the season or into the championship game. One large concern. There's a couple, but one big one. Let's go with the big one first. Is the injuries, right? Injuries to J.J. Brown, injuries to Jalen Hurts. No one's talking that much about the injury to Saquon Barkley, which I think is interesting. The injuries that have kind of like sort of gripped the team as we move down the stretch into the most critical portion of the season. You're playing with house money at this point. You need everybody fully healthy. That seems to be the main concern. And also the alarming amount of criticism to Kellen Moore, your guru of a play caller, which I feel that's one of the more stunning indictments coming out of this game, that the Eagles Nation is turning on Kellen Moore and blaming him in some reason for the poor offensive performance yesterday from the quarterback and from the team in general, as the Rams almost snatched victory from the jaws of victory. Or victory from their jaws of defeat. So the conversation of the Eagles will roll on. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to touch on your day in Philadelphia sports history on this inaugurational Monday, by the way. Happy Inauguration Day. We have a new sheriff in town. Donald Trump is returned as the 47th president of the United States. And whether you're a Democrat, Republican, and I like to keep politics out of my stuff. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a big politic guy when it comes to mixing it with sports. I'm not. But regardless of how you feel, congratulations to Donald Trump for taking the presidency and everything going as planned in terms of the peaceful transfer of power. There's a bigger thing at hand here other than just Donald Trump winning the White House. There's a bigger thing happened today other than Trump getting the White House back. It was the fact that the constitutional republic's founding narratives and founding principles were enacted and were carried out as they should have been on this bitterly cold Monday. So we have a new president. We're not going to talk about that unless, of course, you want to talk about that. I'll talk about that. But we'll discuss your day in Philadelphia sports history. We're going to do a little bit of a Flyers weekend wrap up. Flyers have kind of fallen by the wayside when it comes to talking Philly sports around here, obviously for obvious reasons, and Flyers are used to that. especially at this time of the year if the Eagles are on a playoff push. But we are going to update you on the Flyers and where they stand heading into their matchup tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings. So we'll break some hockey down tonight. We're going to do your of the night segment. We got your Phillies, my Phillies all-time roster continues on. We are now into the outfield as we unveiled our catcher last night. Mike Lieberthal is my all-time Phillies catcher. That's right. MattyB's all-time Phillies catcher is Mike Lieberthal. We're going to move into the outfield tonight and reveal my center fielder of all time. And then as we, the end state of this, of course, is to reveal the entire 9 positions or 8 positions, 5 starting pitchers, and a closer. That's my all-time roster. And we're on the way of doing that. So we'll do that at our card of the night and whatever else grabs your fancy here on this beautiful Monday night, Martin Luther King Day as well. So happy Martin Luther King Day as well for all you out there that celebrate that. So here we go. Let's get into your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the good folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It is a Flyers fact. 1993, 83. Giving it a lot more credit than it deserved. 83. Do you guys remember Darryl Sittler? Now, this is a name I think that conjures it's for older hockey fans, but Darryl Sittler, back in his day, which was in the 70s mostly, by the time the Flyers got him in the 80s, he was sort of rounding down his career. But back then, Darryl Sittler was one of the better goal scorers. Now, he got kind of wrapped into the Gretzky era. He got kind of wrapped into the beginning of Mario Lemieux. So, he is a Hall of Famer, and rightfully so. But I guess the popularity of Sittler is lost on where he played mainly. Most of his career was in Toronto. And then the era that he played in, hockey was just sort of catching fire down here in North America. But definitely one of the more talented goal scorers of that era. And the Flyers were able to get him towards the end of his career. And on this night back in 83, he scored his 1000th NHL point in on a goal against the Calgary Flames, a 5-2 Flyers win. So Sittler, a Hall of Famer. Again, I don't think gets much credit. Gets lost in hockey lore because of the era that he played in. And then the kind of how the era is sort of like blended in with Gretzky and then all that. So, but Darryl Sittler was a hell of a goal scorer, hell of a point guy back in the late 70s into the late 80s. Flyers got him at the back end of his career. And on this night back in 83, he registered his 1000th NHL point, regardless of who you are. And, if you like him or not, lasting long enough in your sport to accumulate 1,000 points, 1,000 goals, 1,000 strikeouts, 1,000 hits, 1,000 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, whatever case is. It's a milestone, man. And Darryl Sittler did it tonight with the Flyers back in 83. So there you go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. And that was brought to you by the fine folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And Joe Howe checking in. Joe asking me, how are you tonight? Joe, I'm doing well. I've never had a bad day in my life. That's right. That's right. Long live the king. Doing great, Joe. How are you? That's more important to me, Joe. It's not how I am. How are you doing? How are you? But yeah, Darryl Sittler, your day in Flyer history. Brought to you again by the fine folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network who are struggling to bring you great content and 24/7. You do know that's the intent here, right? Eventually, when I actually grow this thing more than just 2 people and 7 shows, that we actually have 365 days, 7-day a week, 24-hour day sports content. That's right. I want to take the 94 WIP Fanatic Sports Radio terrestrial concept here to the digital platform. That is my ultimate goal. Hopefully, I live to see that. Judging by the YouTube subscriptions, I don't know if that's possible. That's why I need your help. So please go ahead and like and subscribe, especially on the YouTube side of things. But yeah. So there you go. Let's jump into it. This is our first factoid of the night. We lead this off until we get to the actual moment of time. We're going to continue to count this down. 25 days now, folks. 25 days and counting until pitchers and catchers report to spring training. I'm starting to feel it, even though it was about 2 degrees outside today. I have that spring thing going on, and I can't wait. Baseball is coming and 25 days away from spring training. So hold on to your socks. Joe says, he's excited for the Sunday's coming. I'm excited for this coming Sunday. Just got Eagle tickets. Joe, I'm happy that you did. And aside from everything else, and about my personal feelings about the Eagles and about how I don't believe in, there's bigger things going on, and I'll explain those. But the fact that the Eagles are hosting the championship game, that they are in the NFC championship, let's call it the NFL championship game, but the NFC championship game is a big deal. They're in the Final Four, and I guess a rightfully asked question, and this I've been thinking about this, especially heading into this week. This is where it sucks being me. This is one of the things that suck about being me, is that I can't enjoy this. I honestly can't sit down here and enjoy this. I can't be as ravenous or as into this as I was in 2017 or 1980 or 2005 or any of those previous years of my life that the Eagles advanced to this point, or even in the 2000s when they got to those 4 straight ones and lost. I find myself not, or the 3 straight ones and they won the 4th. I obviously can't enjoy this wholeheartedly than everybody else's because I don't believe, and it's very sad. It's a sad state to be in, especially for me, or mostly, only for me, because I'm missing out on a great time in Eagles history, and it's an amazing, momentous moment. It is, and the fact that you're going to be there, Joe, and I hear now temperatures in the 40s. No snow. That's great. Maybe some rain or a little overcast, whatever. Just your typical late January day. It seems to probably be a party atmosphere. 3 p.m. start. That's perfect. Game will be over if they win in enough time to celebrate. 6, 7 o'clock at night. That's perfect. And if they lose, maybe just the night will go by quick. Whatever. But that's awesome, Joe. That's awesome. It's a bucket list thing for, I think, a lot of Eagle fans to go to an NFC championship game. That would probably be up there with going to a Super Bowl. It used to be in this town, it was to them win an NFC championship game, but we've kind of got through, we've gotten over that hump lately, or we finally got through it and we won the Super Bowl. So that's awesome, Joe. I'm glad for you. Please, next week when the game is over, let us know how it went. Give us your instant reactions. We are going to have the post-game show on Sunday, of course, the Birds, what's it called? Birds Flyby. So make sure you hop on right after the game while maybe you're coming home or perhaps walking down Patterson Ave and be our reporter and tell us how it was. But there you go. Eagles and Commanders on the Birds Blast, or the Birds Flyby. Not the Birds Blast, but the Birds Flyby next Sunday, immediately following the NFC Championship game. So can't wait to, obviously that's the story, right, Joe? That's the story in town. What are we doing here? We're going to get ready for the NFC Championship game. Let's jump more back into this. Joe's also saying, I'm worried about Jalen Hurts and his knees, and rightfully so. That's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from the Eagle Nation today is, the injury situation. Not with just Jalen. Of course, Jalen now seems to be the bigger problem, or the most crucial problem, but with AJ Brown, his injuries, AJ Brown, his lack of offensive production as well. So let's talk about Jalen Hurts, I guess. Let's get into it. I am on the island if Jalen Hurts cannot play on Sunday, I think the Eagles are still in an opportunity to win. I honestly, and as silly as it's going to sound, I think it opens up the playbook more to Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's under fire because that was the second biggest thing I took from today was the criticism of Kellen Moore and his playbook and the way they've been calling plays, which I don't understand. I really, truly don't. And a lot of the venom was centered on those 7 sacks that Jalen Hurts took. Did you guys watch those 7 sacks? Those 7 sacks were Jalen Hurts sacks. Those 7 sacks, or maybe now 7, about 5 of them, were sacks because Jalen Hurts held on to the football too long. How's that Kellen Moore's fault? Kellen Moore is calling a pass play. Jalen Hurts is still having problems reading defenses, doing his checkdowns, and being confident in throwing to a 3rd or 4th option. How is that your offensive coordinator's fault? It's your quarterback coach's fault. That's your head coach's fault, and that's your GM's fault. How is that Kellen Moore's fault? So I don't understand why the criticism is being aimed at Kellen Moore. It's almost like people are like Jalen has entered into a vortex on Sunday of average to below average play. That has not been the way he's been playing all season long. And I, again, am strongly under the opinion that if he does not play Sunday, that they got to turn it over to Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett or a combination of both of them, that it opens up Kellen Moore's playbook, because they can't run Kellen Moore's playbook with Jalen Hurts. It's almost like you guys haven't been listening to me for 3 months. It's almost like this town has gone tone deaf to Jalen Hurts. Am I the only one out there that believes or is under the impression that they're not running the full playbook for Jalen Hurts? I get Kyle Quinn coming on this show telling me that, oh, well, they're tailoring plays for Jalen. Okay. They're tailoring that. So that means they're not running the Kellen Moore playbook, right? Because they brought Kellen Moore here because of a certain je ne sais quoi as an offensive coordinator. The quick hitters, the slant patterns. He was more of a motion guy. Remember all those things we talked about a year ago now when we brought him here? And how he was going to take over play calling responsibilities, and Nick Sirianni was going to be the CEO, and Vic Fangio was going to do the defense, and Nick Sirianni was going to just sit there in the middle. But now I'm hearing, but then Jalen struggles out of the gate. The playbook changes. Nick Sirianni admits to the fact that he's been calling plays. And they open up a new playbook to him called the Moriani playbook, where both Sirianni and Moore are both calling plays, I think, in order to maximize Jalen Hurts' ability. And people are going to start criticizing Kellen Moore, who's probably trying to put this thing together with spit and duct tape every week to find plays that this quarterback can run out of his own playbook. And now they're going to criticize him, criticize Kellen Moore for it. I think he's done a hell of a job. The quarterback hasn't been able to figure out the playbook in a whole season. That's not Kellen Moore's problem. That's not his fault. It's his problem. Of course it is, but it's not his fault. So not having Jalen Hurts at our disposal on Sunday, how is that a bad thing for this team? I'm not saying that that's the optimal thing, but it opens up the playbook, Kellen Moore's playbook, to the other two, because we saw when the other two were in there, especially Kenny Pickett, the playbook was opened up. He was throwing to the middle of the field. They were throwing slants, quick hitters. They were doing motion. They were running complex offensive plays because Pickett could figure them out and Pickett can run them. Now, there's a sense of the offense that goes away without Jalen, his mobility. If Jalen Hurts is not as mobile as he is, then what's he doing in there anyway? Don't we stand a better shot with Kenny Pickett as the quarterback than we do with Jalen Hurts? Don't we stand a better shot with a man who can run the playbook that Kellen Moore has than the Moriani playbook that they run for Jalen Hurts? Again, is there anybody here? Does anybody hear me? I've been talking this for like 5 months. I'm starting to feel alone in the world. Hello? Is anybody out there? I still believe Nick is still, again, Joe, I think he's calling. I think there's as I said, the Moriani playbook. I think they developed a third playbook that are a combination of Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni plays. It's Kellen Moore and Sirianni infused, influence plays put together into whatever play they come up with. Absolutely think that. I think Nick Sirianni's offensive concepts are still part of this team's base offense because Jalen Hurts can do that. Jalen Hurts understands that. Jalen Hurts does not understand Kellen Moore's playbook. He's never understood it. That's why they never throw the ball to the middle of the field. And again, I keep hearing this week after week after week. Why aren't they throwing more slant patterns? Why aren't they throwing more quick hitters? Or on Sunday, why didn't they throw any slant patterns or quick hitters? Because they don't do it all season long. Where have you people been? 48 passes out of 361. Where is the stat? I did a pretty little graphic for that. And the entire 2024 regular season, Jalen friggin' Hurts attempted 361 passes. Here it is. 361 passes, and only 48 of them were to the middle of the field. And I asked the question then, and I ask it now. Why? And I get a lot of word salad. I get a lot of window dressing. I get a lot of fake news as a response to that. Well, when you have Saquon Barkley, you don't need to throw the ball. I'm not saying throw the ball. He's still throwing it 25 times a game. It's not what I'm saying. Why aren't they throwing the ball to the middle of the field? It's very simply put. They don't have faith and confidence in their quarterback, who's being paid $1.6 million a game, to throw the ball to the middle of the field. That's why the interceptions are down. That's why the turnovers have been almost eliminated, because they've taken a portion of the offense completely away from Jalen Hurts. They don't throw balls tight into tight windows. They don't give him an opportunity to screw it up. It's everything's out. Everything's on the sidelines. Everything's the sides of the field. Everything's a YOLO or a 50-50 ball. So not having Jalen Hurts in the lineup on Sunday, if he's down because of his knee, if we lose the mobility factor of Jalen Hurts, why not put Kenny Pickett in? It would open up the playbook to another quarterback, right? Am I wrong? I'm not advocating for Kenny Pickett to become the new starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I am advocating seeing what Kellen Moore's playbook looks like when it's run. Seeing how he probably will be out of town at the end of the year anyway when he takes a new head coaching job. So why not? Why the hell not? Pickett scares me. McKee is better than Pickett. But Pickett's got the experience. Again, listen, go with Pickett. If it ain't working, switch him out, Very reminiscent to that that second Commanders game, which is on a lot of people's minds about I'm not going to get into the referee stuff, but everyone's got this on their mind now about the Commanders. And of course, the Commanders pose a whole different type of problem to the Eagles that we're going to break down probably starting tomorrow as we move deeper into the week. But we're still laying on the Eagle Ram sword for at least one more night. I think Hurts is scared to throw it in the middle of the field. Again, Joe, I agree. But is it at the line of scrimmage? Is he becoming scared and just not doing it? Are they calling plays and he's just not executing them? Are they calling plays? Is he audibling out of those? Or are they just not calling those plays anymore? And I think at the end of the season, whether or not they win or lose the Super Bowl, I think a question needs to be asked and an answer needs to be given. Why the hell the Eagles threw the football to the middle of the field less than 50 times in one full regular season? Unheard of numbers. Now, you're going to get the word salad because we had Saquon Barkley. And when you have a player like that, why would you have to throw the ball at all? And that's a bunch of bull crap because they threw the ball. They absolutely did. 361 pass attempts, but only 48 of them were to the middle of the field. I'm not questioning their passing or lack of passing or pass to run ratio. I'm questioning why they threw the ball only 48 times to the middle of the field. I heard one slobbering Homer Eagle fan say it was because of not having Dallas Goedert for chunks of the season. What the hell are you talking about? It's got nothing to do with it, man. So that's obviously a Homer's opinion, but I want to know the real reason, and I want to know whose playbook they've been running all season, because I don't think it's been Kellen Moore's. I really, truly don't. And as far as to finish the question about Jalen Hurts and his knees, listen, if he is hindered with his mobility, if he can't be Jalen Hurts with his feet and legs, wouldn't we stand a better chance with a Kenny Pickett or a Tanner McKee who can run Kellen Moore's playbook than with a gimpy Jalen Hurts who can't now move out of the pocket and obviously can't, is a whole portion of the field shut down to him because of they won't let him throw the ball to the middle of the field? Wouldn't we be better off going with a backup quarterback who has the ability to run the entire playbook versus your starter who cannot run the whole playbook, but does have an X factor of his mobility, but now that's gone because of a knee injury? Wouldn't we be better off with that? And I think it's a legitimate question to ask, because Jalen Hurts has absolutely done nothing to prove in himself as the untouchable elite starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing. I owe you this. And I did this earlier in the season, and I'm going to go back, and I was going to redo it tonight, but I got caught up and I wasn't able to do it. But I owe you breaking down the Eagle total offense versus Saquon Barkley's numbers. And I'm taking the chunk of the offense out of what Saquon Barkley has provided this offense, and looking at this thing without Saquon Barkley, and how poorly this team, and how one layered, again, another thing that we've talked about a lot this season is the one layeredness of this offense. It's not that they're relying on Saquon, who's, and we're going to talk about the Rams and Saquon one last time, but not the fact that they're relying on Saquon Barkley and he's having an amazing season, is that the level, if you take him away from the offense, of what that would do to this offense is unprecedented right now. Without Saquon Barkley in this offense, the Eagles are scoring 10 points a game. I mean, where's the offense coming from without Saquon Barkley on this football team? And does that not scare people heading into the second most important game of the football season? That without Saquon, or somebody figures out how to shut him down, where's the rest of the offense coming from? This offensive problem, the Eagles have been, yesterday's show's title was Snow and Mirrors, because that's how they won that game yesterday, in my opinion. They won it with Snow greatly assisting them, and they won it with the mirrors of Saquon Barkley and being the dominant, otherworldly type season he's had. What happens when the snow's gone and the mirror breaks and you need to try to find offense some other way? Nobody's talking about that. Everyone wants to talk about the Eagles as this well-oiled offensive machine that can score points at a drop of a hat. That is not the truth. The truth is only Saquon Barkley provides you 75 to 80 to 85% of your offense. And does that not scare Eagles fans heading into the two most important games of the season? No one's talking about that. They're glossing over the fact of how important Saquon Barkley's been to this team, and I think they're setting themselves for a fall. I really do. Truly do. I think I also noticed when Brandon Graham said there's a chance he plays. Yeah, I saw that too. Interesting. Now, I mean, obviously, if that's the case, medically cleared. Now, does that, let me ask you this. Does that speak volumes to the fact that he wants to participate to win another Super Bowl? Does that speak volumes to that? Or does it speak volumes to the fact that he is retiring at the end of this season and that he wants to play at least one more game in the championship game and potentially Super Bowl to end his career? Because I think it speaks the second one. I think he's definitely going to retire at the end of this year, but he does not want to go out the way of an injury. He wants to actually go out and walk off the field, at the end. So I would definitely look for him either in this game, or if the Eagles advance, he will definitely probably be available for the Super Bowl to play at least a little bit. But that's good news. They need his leadership. They needed his leadership on the field. I think they've missed it a little bit on the field with that young defense. Not having Fletcher Cox and then not having him has, I think, really hurt this team emotionally. Some of those penalties this season, those unsportsmanlike conduct, those emotional Jalen Carter type penalties might have been avoided if Brandon Graham was there. So I think it's a great thing. And if Brandon can come back, especially if he is going to retire, I mean, God knows, all-time Eagle, not a Hall of Famer, but a guy that was instrumental in winning the only Super Bowl we've ever won, and a huge part of this team. And yes, a future Eagle Hall of Famer, most definitely. But yeah, that's some good news. That is some good news there, Joe Hale. Now, one last thing, probably about this Rams game before we turn the page and head to DC. Yesterday, I want to know, and I said this on my show last night, I want to get inside the head of Sean McVay. Let's take a walk through the head of Sean McVay. Now, I don't know about you guys, but as a normal person who thinks rationally, and I like to believe that I'm a rational thinker, most of the time I am. I do have a couple irrational moments, as we all do, but for the most part, I'm rational. But I would like to believe that heading into this game on Sunday, a playoff game, a divisional playoff game, an opportunity to go to the NFC Championship game, an opportunity to return to the Super Bowl, that you, having the hindsight, and I'm speaking from Sean McVay's point of view, having the hindsight of having already played the Eagles earlier in the season and watch Saquon Barkley in that game account for over 300 total offensive yards, would come into this game with some sort of ironclad lockdown. I don't care. And again, I said it last night. I don't care if Jalen Hurts throws 18 touchdown passes, 575 yards, runs for 3 more, whatever. That I can live with that. But the fact that I am going to allow Saquon Barkley to once again dance all over us, to me, is an embarrassment, not only to Sean McVay, but to the entire Los Angeles Ram fan base, the entire Los Angeles Ram football organization, and some internal investigations need to be conducted inside the Rams locker room to find out who is responsible for allowing Saquon Barkley to amass another 260, 270 plus yards yesterday of net offense. I think he ran for 205, caught like 50 yards out of the backfield. But how do you let that happen? So I think the numbers were for 2 games against the Rams this year. Saquon has amassed 525 total yards and 4 friggin' touchdowns. It's 28 points. And he ran for halfway to 1,000 yards in 2 games. Or he accumulated halfway to 1,000 yards in 2 games. I don't know, and I know that it's not the same in LA versus Philadelphia, and I know it's not the same type of fan bases, and I know he's not going back to LA having to deal with people like me and people like a lot of the other people that are here, Eagles fans or not Rams fans. I understand that. But can you imagine if that was the Eagles having to do or going through that? Can you imagine if it was somebody, whatever, that was Saquon Barkley against us? And not only did we let him burn us once for over 300 yards, but we let him burn him a second. I mean, an internal, if you are a Rams fan, you can hear the sound of my voice. I say you demand an investigation into why the Philadelphia Eagles or your team could not stop Saquon Barkley. It wasn't like this was a surprise. This was an ambush. This was something that was not expected to happen. The Eagles offense rolls completely through Saquon. And why did you not have something down to stop? And I'm not saying shut him out. There's no way you're going to do that, but stop the big time runs. We broke off 2 of them yesterday. Why? Now, is there something to the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles? Yes, of course. But rotating players in and out, keeping them fresh, doing what you got to do, bringing people up. Again, make the man Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm. I guarantee you Dan Quinn, and here's my early bold prediction, is going to stack the hell out of that box. He's going to run a lot of base zero stuff. He's going to put his cornerbacks and his safeties on islands all game long and tell Jalen Hurts to beat him with his arm. I 100% guarantee it. They may lose Sunday, the Commanders, but they're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat them. They're going to make Jalen Hurts do it. I guarantee you 100% that is what the game plan is going to be against the Eagles. And I don't think it's something that should come to a shock to any Eagle fans or to the Eagles coaching staff or to Saquon Barkley. They are not going to let him beat him. So if I was a Ram fan, all I'm saying, I'd be calling for an investigation into why the hell we let this guy beat us twice in the same season in about a span of 5 weeks. Absolutely amazing. But 28-22, biggest takeaways from the game on Victory Monday for me have been the criticism of Kellen Moore. And it mainly gravitates towards those 7 sacks, which are Jalen Hurts' fault. And, of course, the injuries. And, of course, the main injury to Jalen Hurts. But it's more than Jalen, right? You got Saquon dealing with the banged-up wrist, which could be factored into ball control. And you got A.J. Brown still dealing with those knee problems that have definitely affected his game. So Eagles are starting to feel the effects of the long season as now they'll wrap up January, hopefully with a win and on to the Super Bowl and on to February, which would be great. The last thing I am going to talk about this weekend in general about the NFL. And on Wednesday or Thursday, remind everybody out there, a programming note here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, the Birds Blast will be back. We say it every week. We're a week-to-week season right now, just like the Eagles. As long as the Eagles win, we come back. If the Eagles win on Sunday, we'll be back at some point. I don't know, somewhere in between the Super Bowl. If they lose, then we won't be back until after the Super Bowl, and we'll wrap everything up. But we'll be back on Thursday, and we'll be talking about. We'll put our final touches on the Rams game and talk a little bit about, or a lot about, the Commanders. And I'll also reveal my picks, how I did over the weekend in the divisional round. But the one observation that I can make here tonight, because I don't want to violate my contract that I have with the Birds Blast, because I don't want to get in Dutch with them guys. But the one observation that I am going to make heading into the championship game round between the 4 teams that are left, I have never noticed before, and maybe it's because I'm hyper aware of it now, but for some odd reason, and I owe you the numbers here because I got to go back and look. Turnovers are absolutely killing teams, and as turnovers do. But I've not seen as many. I've not seen this many turnovers in the playoffs in a long time. Again, I owe you numbers, but every single game has been really settled. Have you noticed the games? What was Detroit, Washington? That was turnover fest. Jared Goff with the 4 interceptions. Yesterday, Bills and Ravens, the turnovers, the fumbles, the interceptions. The Rams, Eagles, the 2 costly turnovers late in that game really swung the balance of those games. Turnovers kill. And I don't remember seeing these many turnovers in a round of playoffs before in a long time. I can't remember the last time. So with a gimpy wrist of Saquon Barkley, that is something to keep in mind as we get into the deeper parts of the season. Turnovers are killing teams this year, killing them in the playoffs, man. And they're happening at epic rates. So we'll see what the Eagles can do about that. But yeah, so that's that. I guess we'll kind of close the book on the Eagles and the Rams for now, and tomorrow we'll reopen. Oh yeah, and one last part. Again, this is just a conversation that never really quite ends. But into Sunday's game, the Eagles and Commanders. This is a interesting fact as well. Eagles and Commanders are, of course, NFC East rivals. This is the only 5th time since the invention of the NFC Championship game, which was in the 72-73 season. It was the first NFC Championship game because that was the first 70-71. Sorry. Since 70-71. This is the 5th time that 2 teams in the NFC East, all NFC East NFC Championship game in history since 70-71. 5th time, which absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing since the advent of everything. So, and it's the first time, of course, the Eagles will play Washington in an NFC Championship game in the history of both teams. The last NFC East NFC Championship game was in 86-87, Giants and Washington. So that was the last all NFC East NFC Championship game. So it's a little nugget to chew on as we get ready for the big game on Sunday, Eagles Commanders. And don't forget, we will be back on Sunday for the Birds Flyby immediately following win, lose, or draw, Eagles Commanders. And I think we're going to try to have a dais of people on the post game this weekend, not just Sal, but I think we're going to try to get Sal some help and talk about that. And I'm toying with the pregame. We'll see what we can do about a pregame as well. But at the very minimum, we will have the Birds Flyby for you immediately following the NFC Championship game. So stay tuned for that and have some fun with it. Real quick, and then we're going to transition over to our segmented portion of the night because we have segments to do. But, Flyers back at it tomorrow. Ryan Poehling put on the IR tonight. So the Flyers now, Nick Delorier still, I find it very interesting. He's still on IR. Poehling now joins them. Of course, Ryan Ellis is on IR. I think the number is now $9.78 million of Flyers salary cap is currently on the injured reserve list as Poehling was put on the IR today. Richard Devon was called up from Lehigh Valley, and he'll replace him in the lineup, but the Flyers are coming off of a very productive week. Interesting week. They went into the week 0 for 2025 and came out of the week, what was that? With a little bit of a 3-game winning streak, or they 5 or 7 points in like 9 or 6 games or something like that, or 4 games. So very impressive week for the Flyers, and they're back over 500, 4 points out of a wild card spot in the East, and we're sailing towards the Four Nations tournament, which for those of you who are not aware of this, the NHL is not doing an all-star game this year. They're doing this Four Nations thing. It's to kind of get everybody excited about the Olympics next winter. There'll be no all-star game next year either, because the NHL is returning to the Olympics. They're going to do they'll have an Olympic break next year as the players will join their respective countries and battle for gold. So they're doing that to kind of get people ready for that. They're doing this Four Nations thing in lieu of an all-star game. So not many games in February, like 7, like the whole month. And the Flyers will they have an opportunity here as they head into March. March 7th, of course, is the NHL trade deadline for those of you who keep track at home. Where the Flyers stand in all this, and how everything kind of works out for them up to this point. But the Flyers have found themselves in a very interesting position heading into the month of February. They got 3 games this week, and then we move into the month of February. They got, as I said, about 6 games the entire month. And then they find themselves in early March. They could find themselves, right around that 8th seed heading into the trading deadline. And, of course, the big question is going to be, what does Danny B do? Does he try to help them out for this year and make a run, or does he hold on to his cards or hold on to his guns and stay true to his belief of not wanting to just be a fringe playoff team, but be a hardcore Stanley Cup competitor, and then trade players for assets? We'll see. But a very good week for the Flyers. They're getting offensive production from all over the lineup, not just from the Noah Cates line. Now they're getting it from other players. The goaltending with Sam Ersson has definitely improved. It's taken a definite turn to the better. And they're finding themselves in the thick of things. 1 game over 500 and 4 points out of the final playoff spot. So we'll see. Tomorrow night, the Flyers will be back at it, and so will we over here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on Clear the Ice. The best Flyers postgame show around. And I'm not saying it because I'm on it. I'm saying it because it's the truth. And I will be back tomorrow night. So there'll be no final word tomorrow, just me on postgame duties. Sal will have you on Thursday, and then I'll be back on Friday as the Flyers will be going back-to-back against the Rangers and Islanders later in the week. So tomorrow night, I will be back for the Flyers postgame as the Flyers and Red Wings will do battle. But 1 game over 500, power play is starting to work. Like 5 power play goals in the last 4 games. I mean, something crazy like that. So, hey, man, maybe it's starting to work. Maybe it's starting to click. I don't know. They're not a Stanley Cup contender, but yeah, looking good. So we'll see how that works out for the Flyers. But yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's keep it moving. Let's do our Of the Night segment. All right, as the title suggests, Of the Night is where we take a Flyers prospect, Phillies prospect, NHL draft target, NFL or NHL draft target, MLB NHL draft target. We spotlight a Phillies player, we spotlight a Flyers player. We talk about prospects, whatever. We take one of those things and we just talk about it a little bit. Last night, I think we were back into the MLB draft with Stevenson, the catcher, Luke Stevenson from North Carolina. Tonight, we're staying on baseball, but we're going back to the Phillies. 25 days, folks, until pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater. You cannot get – I'm starting to feel it, man. I'm starting to get the twitch for baseball. as we are 25 days away from the beginning or the reporting of pitchers and catchers. So tonight we're going to go into the Phillies and we're going to continue spotlighting your 2025 Philadelphia Phillies. We've done a couple of these so far. Let's keep the train rolling. And our spotlight Phillies player of the night, oh yeah, there he is, man. The man of the hour, Alec friggin' Bohm, the much maligned third baseman of the Philadelphia Phillies. 143 games for Alec Bohm last season, a 280 batting average, 15 home runs, 97 ribbies, a .780 OPS, and a 2024 All-Star. On paper, I guess, a very, he almost had 100 RBIs, and he had a 780 OPS, which is in baseball ease above, like up top, upper echelon of the league. And he garnered he was an NL All-Star, was in the home run derby, all of those great things. Had an amazing first half of the season. But unfortunately for Alec Bohm, and unfortunately for Phillies fans, baseball is a 2-half season. And the second half was complete and utter nightmare for Alec Bohm, culminating with a benching at one point. Was it in the playoffs he got benched? I think it was. Questions about his maturity level came back up again. The defensive problems cropped up. He lost his head a few times, throwing equipment, all those things. So much so that by the end of the season, what began as a very productive 2024, and he was the darling of Philadelphia heading into the All-Star break that year of last season. I mean, he could do no wrong. But by the end of the season, and after everything that happened, his lack of production in the second half, his temper tantrums, his lack of production in the postseason, I mean, people were literally packing his bags for him and driving him to the airport and saying, we have had enough of Alec Bohm. And I found it extremely interesting because he could do no wrong in the first few months of the year. And at the end, people were done with him. And the off-season talks surrounding Alec Bohm and the rumors floating about him, or the Phillies shopping him. Phillies say they were never shopping him to be traded, but they did admit that teams were calling and inquiring about Alec Bohm. But apparently the Phillies were getting way too ostentatious with their asking price, which was causing teams to hang up on them and driving people away, whatever the case is. But as we sit 25 days from the beginning of spring training, 25 days from when pitchers and catchers report, all signs are indicating that Alec Bohm's coming back. They just re-signed him. They didn't re-sign him, but they avoided arbitration on him. They signed him for his contract this year, I believe, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. He's got one more year after this year of salary arbitration eligibility. So he's under Phillies control through 2026. Do the Phillies are the Phillies telling the fan base? I mean, they could still trade him even if they got him arbitrate. I mean, locking him up for the season under arbitration is actually a good thing to do, to trade him. It actually probably makes him more attractive to trade. But is it possible? And I'm holding out hope that it's not. I'm holding out hope that Alec Bohm will be dealt at some point before March 28th, which is the opening game of the year in Washington against the Nationals. I am hoping at some point that Alec Bohm is dealt. But if you think about all the X factors, if you think about everything surrounding Alec Bohm, you think about the cheap contract team control for the next 2 seasons, 25 and 26, will be at UFA at the end of 2026. That is also kind of lining up to when third baseman Aiden Miller will probably be major league ready by that time. So is it possible that the Phillies, not to say that they're in love with him and that they'll never part with him and that they wouldn't part with him for the right price, but that goes, I think, for every player. But is it possible that Alec Bohm is back in 2025 playing third base? And how is that received by not only the Phillies fan base, but how does Alec Bohm react to that? And how are the Phillies fans going to treat him when he goes into a slump, or he kicks the ball out there at third base, or he does something stupid and loses his temper. How is that going to work out? Very interesting. Are the Phillies putting Alec Bohm in a no-win situation by leaving him here in Philadelphia? Has too much been done? Has too much water gone under that bridge for Alec Bohm in 2025? And are the Phillies foolish to keep him around based on that? And again, I'm asking because I honestly don't. There's been a lot of talking, but I mean, I know I'm out on him. I want him gone. I think he's terrible. I think he's okay now because he's under team control. And again, does that have anything to do with it? Are the Phillies keeping him around because for the next 2 seasons he's on the cheap or on the cheaper side? He's getting paid like what, $3 million a year. That's not cheap, but when he hits outright free agency, the Phillies are obviously not going to keep him around. But I mean, are they keeping him around because he's on the cheap? But we'll see. But there you go. Your Phillies spotlight player of the night is your starting third baseman as of right now. It looks like as of 2025 again, Mr. Alec Bohm. And where does he fit in the lineup? I mean, again, there's so many freaking questions about this Phillies team that have not been answered. And we're 25 days away from spring training. And unfortunately, because of the Eagles, nobody's really getting up, and no one's getting their dander up about the Phillies yet. Now, of course, we will, and it probably will happen when they get down there. But nobody's getting really that concerned about the Phillies, which I think is fun. Well, I know why, of course, but I think it's very interesting. But there you go, Phillies spotlight player of the night, Alec Bohm, and yeah, so mark another one done. As we're moving through all the night segments, it's hard to do all these players. I mean, there's a lot of players to talk about, a lot of graphics out there, but we got another Phillies player down. Alec Bohm is your Phillies spotlight player of the night, which now leads me to my new segment, my second favorite segment, not my first, my second favorite segment of the night, our Phillies all-time roster. Yeah, I started this a week ago maybe, and I figured I was done asking. Everyone asked me what was my all-time Phillies team. How did I do that? What do I look at when it comes to that? What do I, who was my favorite Phillies players? So I said, the heck with it. I'm going to do a team. Let's run through it one last. Let's put all my cards on the table. Let's run through it. Let's put them out there. So we started doing it last week. We gotten through a lot of it. We got through the infield. Last night we finished it with the catcher. But let's recap my all-time Phillies first baseman or first baseman. It's not first baseman. I could not come up with one, so I went with 2, Pete Rose and Ryan Howard. Second base, yeah, I mean, really, is there any question there? Chase Utley, the greatest second baseman the Phillies have ever had. Shortstop, same thing. The greatest shortstop who ever played for the Phillies. Maybe top 5 greatest shortstop who ever played the game in Jimmy Rollins. Third base, doesn't get much more goatier than that. Mike Schmidt, the greatest third baseman ever to play the game in baseball, and of course, the greatest third baseman to ever play for the Phillies. And the shocker, I guess, is my catcher, Mike Lieberthal, a very underappreciated catcher in his time here in Philadelphia. 94 to 06, over 1,100 games played. 275 career batting average, over 1,100 hits, over 600 RBIs, 150 home runs, and an OPS of 788. Really is kind of characterized, and obviously not getting Mike Lieberthal in an era of Phillies baseball that was any good, I think affects his overall career worth as he's looked upon as Phillies catchers go. But I would take him over pretty much any of the other catchers that we've had, to include JT Realmuto, Darren Daulton, Carlos Ruiz. I would take him over all those guys because I thought Lieberthal really had a lot more to offer than those players did. So there you have it. There's my Phillies infield, just a recap. Now let's get into the outfield, and we're going to go into center field. There was a couple options here with center field, and instead of going the easy way out like I did with first base, I decided to make one. I took one center fielder and made him the center fielder. I took the other center fielder and I moved him to a different outfield position, because that's what we do in this modern era of baseball. Outfielders are outfielders. We're not pigeon-toed by positions. So that's what I'm doing. So I took the one center fielder and left him in center field, and I took the other center field and I moved him to a different outfield position that we'll talk about on a different night. But tonight, my center fielder of all time that's ever played for the Philadelphia Phillies, yeah, Richie Ashburn, of course, 1948 to 1959. 1,700, almost 2,000 games for the Phillies in that stretch. A 311 batting average, over 2,200 hits, close to 500 RBI, one RBI shy of 500, only 22 home runs. Obviously, Whitey did not have power, but he had an OPS of 782. A Phillies Hall of Famer, numbers retired, baseball Hall of Famer, voice of my summer and of my youth, being a play-by-play guy or color analyst alongside Harry Kalas for all those years. Very defensively sound center fielder. Went on after he left Philadelphia, played a little bit up there in New York with the Mets towards the end of his career, but forever be remembered for, in my opinion, the best Phillies center fielder ever. There are some honorable mentions, and I'm not going to get into those players quite right yet because I want to reveal my entire outfield before we talk about those that I did not pick. But right there you have it. Richie Ashburn is my all-time Phillies center fielder. And there you go. So now we're left field, right field, my rotation, and my reliever or my closer, and then we'll be done with that. But there's another piece to my Phillies all-time roster puzzle completed. Let's go now to my favorite segment of the night.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yeah, absolutely. The MattyB card review segment, hands down, best part of my night. Where we take one of my cards from my sports card collection and we just have some fun with it. Talk about financial value, nostalgic value, whatever value. And just sort of lend and continue to build and promote the great hobby of sports card collecting, which, of course, it is a great hobby. And it needs to be turned on to more people. And I was actually surprised that it is still as hot as it was when I was a kid. Maybe in a lot of different ways, more so because of the easier ability to get cards now. But let's continue on with it. We're staying on baseball. I think we did Derek Jeter, most wanted card from Upper Deck last night, the 2001 card. We're staying in baseball. We're going back to Topps, the granddaddy of them all. Topps 2024. That's right. We're coming into this year's Topps cards for tonight's card of the night. And it is Pirates rookie phenom pitcher Paul Skeens. The 2023. Oh, we're going to break them down here in a second. But Paul Skeens, of course, this is Paul Skeens 2024 holiday card. Okay. This is not, of course, Topps, being the king or granddaddy of all card collecting companies, they do multiple sets throughout the year. For example, Topps 2025 Series 1 is actually coming out in about 2 weeks, around middle of February. It'll be here, or about the 10th of February. Around that point of February, they'll be coming out. Then sometime in late June, Series 2 Topps 2025 will be released. And then sometime around late September, early October-ish, in that area, the holiday cards, Topps holiday set 2025 will be released. So basically, Topps does about 3 sets a season to cash in. Now, this is something new, of course. Back when I was growing up, there was just one series, one set, one season. But now they do multiple series throughout the season, and big time business. And this is Paul Skeens' holiday card from this year. I actually have a few of these. I pulled them out of packs. Of course, Paul Skeens might be the hottest pitcher going. And then, of course, everybody knows the story around not this card, mind you, not this card. This card is not the card this is a base card. This is his base holiday card. There's nothing bedazzled about this card. I think right now I found this card on a database, on a couple different databases, about 20 bucks. Yeah, 20 bucks right now for this card. Not major. You ain't going to take over the world with the Paul Skeens rookie holiday base card, but you might take over the world with Paul Skeens Series 2 2024 Topps Auto Relic 1 of 1. All right, that is the granddaddy. We've spoken about this before on the show, but I'll give you an update. So in the Series 2 Topps cards, they have a Paul Skeens rookie. That's a relic card, which means it's got a part of his uniform on it. It's an auto card, which means he signed it. It's autographed. And it's serialized 1 of friggin' 1. It is like the Willy Wonka golden ticket of the card world right now, and it's still unfound. It has not been found, or at least it has not been reported to have been found. And it is so important that the Pittsburgh Pirates, Paul Skeens' team, has offered a 30-year season ticket plan for right behind the home plate, as well as a cash prize for anybody who turns in that card, who contacts the Pirates. They have that card. Absolutely amazing. Trust me, everyone's looking for it. It's like a big manhunt and all that. Somebody's going to get it, but it's a 1 of 1, and it's serialized 1 of 1. So you might find a Paul Skeens rookie Series 2 auto relic, but if it ain't 1 of 1, if it does not have the serial of 1 of 1 on there, that's not the card you're looking for. But there you go. This is my Paul Skeens card. This is his holiday card. Again, not about $20 right now. And this is funny because when I first pulled this card, which is about a month or so ago, right before Christmas, there was none of these in the database yet. Nobody had reported finding them in the database. Now there's 3 I found. So they're starting to show up, and people are starting to sell them. Actually, I think I'm selling, or I have mine listed right now for $120. I don't think I'm going to move it for $120, but you never know. But there you go. There's my Paul Skeens. Now, Paul Skeens is a pitcher. Interesting story around this guy. Began his collegiate career in the Air Force Academy. Yep, as a cadet. He was going to join the military. But after his sophomore season, he entered the NCAA transfer portal, which you are allowed to do. For those of you that are considering a career in the military academies for college, you get essentially the first 2 years to make up your mind whether or not you want to do this. And what I mean by this, I mean the military, right? You got to the end of your sophomore year to say, you know what, this is not for me. I'm not coming back for my junior year. And if you decide that before or at the end of your sophomore year, no harm, no foul, you go on about your life. If you decide after your sophomore year, once you're a junior, that you don't want to do this, then you're not off the hook that easy. You're out of the academy, but you still owe your branch of service 4 years of enlisted time. So you kind of screwed yourself there. But Paul Skeens at the end of his sophomore year decided, you know what, I don't want to do this. So he transferred to LSU, was drafted in the 2023 draft, first overall pick by the Pirates, debuted in Major League Baseball this year in April. In May. He debuted in May. So he spent literally a half of I think he went from when he got drafted in the summer of 2023, he was sent down to single A, low-level A ball, or rookie ball. He was sent to rookie ball. Pitched not much because they were concerned about his usage because LSU made a deep run into the College World Series that year and then shut him down. Sent him to single A after that. Then 6 days after that, promoted him to double A. 6 days after that, or that's where he finished the season. I'm sorry. He finished the season in double A. Began 2024 in triple A in Indianapolis, and then on May 11th was selected and called up by the Pirates and debuted and had an amazing season. Did he win the Cy Young Award? No, he didn't win the Cy Young, did he? Made the All-Star team this year, was the part of the All-MLB team, was named the NL Rookie of the Year this year as well. So no, he did not win the Cy Young Award. No, he did not. But he is definitely a rising star in Major League Baseball. And if you can find his card in any way, shape, or form, doesn't have to be that relic or that auto relic 1 of 1. Any Paul Skeens card right now is worth some money. So make sure you're scooping them up. But here's my card of the night, which is the holiday version or the holiday set 2024 holiday tops version of Paul Skeens. And here it is in its physical form. So you see that I'm not lying and I'm not talking about a card that I don't have. There it is right there. Again, all my cards are raw. None of them have been graded. All the cards that I found of him on these databases are all raw as well. But I would say that probably grades out to be about a 10 or about 9.5. So a $20 raw card at 9.5 Paul Skeens, yeah, you're probably looking at about 60 or 70 bucks. A 10, now you're looking at about maybe $100 bucks. But there you have it. The Paul Skeens rookie from the 2024 Topps holiday set is your card of the night. And folks, guess what? We've come to the end of the fun tonight. A lot going on today. Inauguration day. Been a busy day for a lot of people. Busy day for me too. Tonight we broke down our day in Philadelphia sports history. We continued on our Eagles Rams conversation, as well as where we stood or where I stood on Jalen Hurts and going forward, and talked about some interesting little facts about this game. And of course, the Commanders will be on Sunday, and we'll continue to break the Commanders down. Earlier tonight, Sal G was on with the wraparound. I hope you guys check that out. And all the great things that we got going on here on the SRF Sports Network. Remember, tomorrow night I'll be back for the post-game Eagles or Flyers. Good God, Flyers, Red Wings. We also did a quick of the night segment of Alec Boehm, Phillies spotlight player. We debuted my center fielder of my all-time Phillies team, Richie Ashburn, and Paul Skeens was our card of the night. All that wrapped up in a 1-hour bit of goodness and gold. Also a hot stove report. Anthony Santander is now off the market. He has signed a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. So Santander is not coming to Philadelphia. He's going to Toronto. So as we're getting closer, 25 days again till pitchers and catchers report. So folks, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank you for being involved tonight. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I hope that your day is even better tomorrow. We will talk again on Wednesday night. I won't be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll clear the ice, but not this program. So we'll talk on Wednesday on The Final Word. Take care.